Hey everyone, welcome to xCaffè. I'm so excited to finally get this going. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, whatever you're sipping on. We're going to be diving into some cool things, all about Inflective, all about AI, all about Web3, everything that's been consuming, I guess, every waking hour of my life lately. And I genuinely think, I hope that you're going to love it. Because we feel this type of content's definitely needed, more of it, and more often, and we're always open to feedback. David, should we kick off with some intros? Do you want to intro yourself, and then I'll tell everyone about myself as well?
Um, so I'm David, founding Inflective with Anis. I'm more on a non-techy side, but I can explain you a bit about my background if that's okay. And then you do the same, Anis. So I started basically, let's say, business endeavors like 12, 13 years ago in casual Web2 startup world. I failed horribly. I have learned a lot, so the learning curve was really steep for me in my 20s. Long story short, I did exit. I was doing a software as a service business in the driving school industry. Basically, our idea was to digitalize the whole driving school industry, which was really, let's say, low-hanging fruit for us back then, because everything was on the paper and we saw the opportunity to make it digital. Okay, so this was total Web2 play. Long story short, I become a junior lecturer at the University of Ljubljana here in Slovenia. I met amazing people along the way up. And for the last 4.5 years, I've been deeply involved in Web3 space. I'm really glad that I met Anis and that we started Inflective. It's not going to be that easy to explain in a 1 minute. So that's why we decided to open a podcast category, right, Anis?
100%. That's exactly why we decided to open a podcast so we can tell people who we are and what we're doing, and just catch up with some great guests that we've got lined up in the upcoming podcast that we'll be doing. Little intro about myself. I studied software development straight out of uni. I was computer science with games technology grad. Very quickly learned that, unfortunately, as much as I love games, the focus really around web development, or specifically what you say digital experience platforms, or DXP, so enterprise CMS and content management systems, the salaries are just way better, right? So I dove into that head first and did okay. I did that for 10 years, built my way up to senior developer to a solution architect, and I was architecting solutions across various industries from finance, banking, through to traditional e-commerce stores. And I got to work with some amazing companies from like ASOS in the UK, HSBC banking, Nationwide banking in the UK, robotics companies like KUKA based out of Germany. So whilst my focus was CMS and digital experience platforms, it allowed me to actually work across verticals in different industries. So I got great experience, and I got to work with some of the best developers, I think, and I still think are working in that industry because it's enterprise, right? Who I wish would come over to Web3 and AI. And one of the smartest guys I worked with, he said to me, you know what? I've got a degree in basically rocket engineering. But why do people build websites like it's rocket science? You're 2D squares and pixels on a screen. You're not trying to get a spaceship into space. And that stuck with me because I'm like, it's very common for developers to overcomplicate the simplest of things, right? Which has become like the ethos for everything I do now. It's like, okay, how do I dumb this down, right? If I want to write this code, if my junior dev can't understand it, 100% we failed at what we're trying to achieve, which is something like which what we're doing at Inflective. I pivoted to Web3 just before COVID. I launched my first startup. It was called Locker. It did well in that 2021 market where we are trying to protect users' funds from being rug pulled, and then some other players came in the space that did it really well. From there, I pivoted. I joined the Virtua team, and I helped lead their tech stack as the CTO there, and helped them rebrand and relaunch as Vayner Chain. Now they're doing some great stuff in the AI space, and if you've got time, definitely go check out what they're doing with their MyNeutron. Super close friends of ours still. I'm full-time focused on Inflective now, and Inflective will give you a little primer. So we're reflective. David, ready to jump in?
Yeah, sure. Definitely, reflective is something that we are trying not to overdevelop. I was really, when you were talking about overdeveloping, I remember my first, let's say, days in the startup world, and we really developed amazing product back then, but no one was using it. And we put tons of features on it. We didn't realize that, if you want to run a startup, you're going to run out of money really fast and really quick. So things needs to be in a lean way. That's basically what I always try to implement also in Inflective, so that the things are in a lean way, an agile way. So we really try to test before we develop. So this is a really good shout out to you as well, Anis. But yeah, about Inflective in general, what we do is we are dealing with data, right? And we find a lot of problems about the data. And that's why me and Anis started this journey, questioning ourselves what we can do with tons of companies' data that are siloed, forgotten. I mean, PDFs, SOPs, on emails, on the management tools like Slack, Asana, etc. So this is really kind of a big problem to solve. We are still trying to solve it. I'm not saying, maybe you can confirm on is that Inflective is the right thing to solve it, but at least it's the best solution so far on the radar
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is trying to do this.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's really doing what we're doing, right? Everyone's talking about AI, everyone's collecting data, but most people have no idea what to do with it, right? You've got companies sitting on mountains of data, whether that's sensor readings or robotics, user interaction, transaction logs, and it's just there, not generating value, it's not being analyzed, no anomaly detection, and it's definitely not being monetized, right? So with Inflective, we kind of let you do three main things. We allow you to upload that data to our platform, right? We're talking about any kind of structured data, unstructured data, CSVs, video files, website URLs, API feeds, even robotics data from Mosbag files. Then off the back of that, we'll analyze that data, we'll transform it into AI-ready data, plug that into a vector database and create embeddings from it, making it queryable from any of the AI agents you use, or making it queryable for A2A workflows or zero code workflows, whether you're using Zapier or NAN, you can plug into it, and now you've got this rich data set or niche data set. This is where it gets interesting, right? Once you've created these data sets, launch your own agent to play with it, make sure you're happy with that data set, and you can make those agents public if you want. You can turn that data into a tradable asset or a liquid asset on chain, allowing you to monetize that data. So if any time someone wants to query that data set of yours, we're getting a lot of interest in robotics data and trading data at the moment. You can with our APIs, you can get access to that and then plug it into your trading systems, or you can plug it into agent systems. So the agents have that memory or that data available to them within their context, which was previously completely unattainable. As David said before, this is all siloed away. So it's really about helping users, individuals, companies bubble up that data in a really simple way and giving them a way to then sell that data on, right? And whatever it is, if it's valuable, you can tokenize it and you can create a market around it. And that's effectively what we're building with Inflective.
Yeah, lovely said. Yeah, as like Anis said, there's tons of siloed knowledge in companies, but basically my background is also from academia. And I do know that a lot of researchers struggle from, let's say, getting better exposure in the scientific area. So I did like, I don't know, 20, 25 interviews with my colleagues from university, from different professors, from Stanford, MIT, Cambridge, Queen's Mary. We can talk more about Queen's Mary and Cambridge later on when we talk about the team, because we have amazing advisors, mostly from academia. So yeah, I do understand that, in a research, it's not about the money, it's about the prestige, right? And the prestige is measured in citations, okay? Or in how many times your work was referred and sourced, etc. So this is something that Inflective naturally covers, right? So for example, I'm a researcher. I can upload tons of my researches, articles. I create my own data set. I name it like David's, let's say, scientific work, whatever it takes. I upload it, and Anis, on the other hand, he's searching for the data, and he found my data set. So he can now query it, he can test it, and can say, okay, those David's data sets are really great. I'm going to use it for further AI agent developments, etc. So this is something how we basically started with academia. Why? Because the data there is already verified. It's been through a lot of hands and minds before it was published. So this was kind of low-hanging fruit for us. But yeah, then we tap more into the robotics and sensoric data, etc. And I think Anis is more on that side.
But yeah, definitely with the academia, it was a low-hanging fruit for us. And I think like you touched on the prestige angle, and the idea here was really like you can read an article, right? But in the AI first world that we're seeing now, there's a great new way to, I guess, interact with these articles where you can get the AI agent to have all that knowledge, and then you can test it by asking it 1,000,001 questions, which allows you to try and break down and understand what the article or the academia paper is talking about. And it allows the scientists and these researchers to really have a new way to play with this information that wasn't really available there in the first place. Now they can interrogate that data like never before they sign off on the paper, against the troves of data that's already sitting there in AI, right? So they get like that support on double validating the information. So really big steps there, and looking forward to see how we progress. David is leading that front for us on the inflective side. Now, with robotics, what we know is robotics companies in general, there's been a big push, especially with the surge of AI recently. They're generating tons of data for the AI modeling on how, this sensory data, telemetry data can be used to program these bots to move by themselves, understand the world around them when they're looking for, they've got cameras for eyes effectively, right? So what we're doing is we're building a thing called SenseNet. All users to install SenseNet on their mobiles, and we'll capture sensor-based data, which was then generate a nice juicy data set that anyone that's building robotics, drones or humanoid bots can come and analyze. They can be, okay, we've got GPS data, acceleration data, geometry data, everything that we can capture off of your phone. Even some elements of LiDAR data can be captured, and we plug that in, and they can then see if they want to use that data to train their bots. Right now, there just isn't enough publicly available information to train robotics in that in this form. Imagine, like you saw the humanoid bots recently, right, that were launched, where they were like controlling it. Like you can buy it for like $20,000, but if something's wrong or it can't do something, they'll control it from home with a remote control, not from home, from the offices, and it will do stuff. And this is great because what they're doing now is they're trying to they're getting these robots into your home to understand how you want to use the robot, one, and then two, to understand with the remote control, they can do pretty much anything, where they control the arms, open a dishwasher, close a dishwasher, do folding. But how it moves and what it does is all training data now. And you can see where they have to manually control it from the offices. That will all be automated eventually, but right now they need to capture that data. Doing this with SenseNet is what we're hoping we can capture. The information will get us 20, 30, 40% of the way there, but the idea is we decentralize this. We allow everyone to generate some revenue for that data set that gets created. So do keep an eye out on that. Super interesting. We'll build a bunch of tooling for anyone that has ROSBAG files or other robotic standards of data to bring that data to our platform and analyze it, allow anomaly detection to occur, and be able to monetize from that as well. So that's kind of the robotics angle. Super powerful. Definitely enjoying working on it. Now, let's go back to Web3, right? I've been in Web3 since 2020 on a day-to-day basis. What I really love about something that we're doing at Inflective is our deep integration with the Sui chain, right? Everything we're building is Sui native. Why? Core reasons, it's product and a platform for developers to build. They've done it so well, so gracefully, and it's a hard chain for people to manipulate data on as well. So it's for us, it's very secure. The products that we really like is Walrus, right? All data that gets uploaded to our platform is backed up as a data availability layer on Walrus. On top of that, we're building the capabilities to, if you've got data sitting on Walrus already, we can ingest that big data and plug it into your data sets as well. And that works as a really nice deep-in-based decentralized storage layer for the tons of gigabytes and gigabytes or terabytes of data that people are going to be playing with these data sets when they're creating them. Now, on top of that, the next element is Seal. So part 2 is Seal. And with Seal, what we're doing is we're able to encrypt that data. So when it's stored on chain or even stored centrally, the only people that can access it was the original data owner that uploaded that data set. Because it's encrypted, we'll only store it on our storage servers centrally just as a backup, and it will be stored on chain if we use the ops2 with Walrus. But with Seal, because it's encrypted, only they can ever access it. We'll never be able to understand what that data is unless we're given access to it. Now, what's great about Seal is once you've encrypted it for yourself and only you can have access to it, you have the ability to create an allow list. So anyone that owns a token that you launch against your data set can then actually access that as well based on either per usage or a subscription-based model. And Seal kind of gives us that natively, that technology out of the box, which like no other chain's doing, right? I'll have to go to this project, that project, make a deal there, make a deal there. With Sui, I can't just, one conversation, access to devs, got all the documentation, and we just build tech, and it's been great. So Walrus and Seal, great. Seal for tokenization and encryption of data and protecting your data. Walrus for backing up your data, giving you that security and availability of data. We're working also with Nautilus, which is all about trusted execution environments. And that's a big thing because when you're working with AI, a lot of people worry that the data they insert is going to get ingested by the AI and used to train the AI agents. Some people want that private level of inference. So we've been working with a few small language models. We're looking at Gemma from Google, and we're looking at the Llama models, meta release, and how we can run these small language models in an isolated, secure environment. So when anyone has a conversation or passes data sets through to that trusted execution environment, what you'll see is that no one has any access to information, right? Because the data in storage is super secure. It's all encrypted using Seal. The data in processing is now also secure because when it goes over to the trusted execution environment, the cloud service providers that provide these trusted execution environment with GCP, Amazon, Azure, they guarantee that physically no one's had access to it. So data in transit, data in process, and then data in storage is already secure thanks to Seal as well. So super secure. There's no one can access it. The processing that happens, we will make the packages that we make with Nautilus and how we process that information open source to add that extra level of trust. So what you goes in, you can see there's nothing else happening to it. And then what comes out is the response, and only you will ever get that response. And then we make sure that data is then cleared and it's not stored there. So now you can have private inference conversations, trusted, and then the fact that it's secure, something like a Nitro Enclave from AWS actually creates like an ID that verifies after every process or transaction or period of time that the machine is still secure. And then that proof gets stored on chain, which is what Nautilus does. So you'll be able to see on chain that transaction X happened, the data was fully secure, no one has access to it, and the machine was secure at the time that you used it. It's a super powerful narrative that we're working on there with Nautilus. And I think if you look at Sui overall as a developer experience as well with the Move language and Sui Move, we've had probably some of the easiest onboarding experience. I mean, I love EVM. EVM's become really easy to use just because of how many people are using it. The developer experience has grown there, but we're still early days with Sui, and they've made it super easy. So I'm super bullish on continuing building on the Sui ecosystem and rolling out more and more product there, because it just ties so well with our narrative, and it gives us like all these tools: security, storage, availability, the encryption, token gated access, all out of the box. Takes away my headache as a dev to be like, we can focus on product, not the underlying architecture, which we might need to do sometimes with varying EVMs, because this product's launched on another EVM. Now we need to go to that EVM to just do the best encryption in the market. But actually, Sui brings it all to one place and makes it a good home for us.
Yeah, that's amazing, Denise. Always really love to listen how you explain the tech in a really easy way. My 2 cents to Sui Eco, I'm more on the let's say on the surface level, what basically communities see on the surface. So I'm dealing with a lot of good folks within Sui Foundation. Always got an amazing response, and they're really trying to make it the best chain on the world. And I really love to be a part of this journey. So super bullish on the eco of Sui. And to be honest, we've been now in talks with Sui for I think 8 months, and we moved mountains in the meantime, and we still have tons of cool things to do with Sui in the pipeline. So I'm really looking forward for the bright future for us and for the Sui.
All right. Thanks, David. Look, before we wrap up, let's talk about community, because, you guys are literally why we're building this, right? We want to hear from you. What questions do you have about Inflective? What features would you like to see? Who should we be talking to on this podcast? We'll invite guests. We don't know if we'll get them. We'll try to get them on. What use cases do you think we should be looking at from Inflective? This is your chance. And let's discuss product ideas, right? Are we solving problems that you guys feel need solving, right? Or are we just doing tech for the sake of tech? Brutally honest question, right? But we want to hear that from you, because we can't, improve without the feedback that you guys bring. So drop comments wherever you're listening to us, DM us, reach out to us. Let's get the conversation moving, and hopefully that feedback, will help us build better episodes, give you stronger content, improve our features and our product. Shoot us an email as well, and let's go. We'll be reading everything. We might not respond to everything individually, but your input, directly shapes what we build and what we talk about on this show. Thank you for your time. David, what are we looking like doing on the next episode?
For next episode, I think that we spend a lot of time talking about the product, not showing it. So I think it's time to show it in the next episode.
We put Nate on the hot seat and get him to demo what we have so far.
Yeah,
I think that's a good shout.
Yes.
Let's go with there.
Yeah.
And then we can keep that rolling. It'll be good to see what the community comes back with. But thank you guys. Adios. See you next time.
Cheers. Bye-bye.